Hello and welcome to Watchworthy. I'm your co-host, Miss Christy.
And it's your boy, Brother Ash.
And today we're coming to you with a Netflix docuseries. This just came out in February 2024. It's titled The Program, Cons, Cults, and Kidnapping. So I call it a docuseries because it's 3 episodes and each episode was like an hour and a half long. So this is why we made this podcast. We watched it so you don't have to sit through 4 hours because this one was really hard to stomach. It was another one with child abuse and a lot of just hate and corruption towards children. So that's your trigger warning right now. This whole episode is going to be about child abuse, and there was also mention of suicide as well. So this documentary featured Catherine Kubler. I believe she also was the director. She was a survivor of what they called the troubled teen behavior modification programs. And so she was a survivor who got out of it, decided to investigate this for the last 10 years and make a documentary about it. It also features some of her friends, I guess friends / fellow survivors who were also haunted by this place. We'll talk about it in depth. It's called Academy at Ivy Ridge.
Yeah.
And so they told about their experiences of corruption and abuse in this facility, and the story was told through recent footage, them going around with a documentary camera. They even confronted some people from the past in real time in the town, so that was interesting to see. And they also shared some archival footage from like the security cameras at the place, some photos of them, and they're smiling in the photos, but we learned about the hate behind those smiles. So without further ado, I'm just gonna leave you guys with this question. What would you say to all the people who wronged you in the past? Because this was very interesting to watch. It's like this woman went through all this stuff and then she went back to confront those people.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that.
She really led the cause on documentaries. Like, you get to see, like, with other documentaries we covered, other journalists kind of, like, lead the cause and do the investigating. She really took it upon herself to do it. So, and she had the opportunity to say things to people. So
yeah, hats off to her.
Y'all think about that, what you would say to people who've wronged you or done stuff to you in the past. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the background of this program and how it started. So back in the 60s, self-help was a huge thing, and something called large group awareness trainings was popular, and it began to become a movement like back in the 60s. So the key to understanding this industry is kind of understanding the manipulation of the parents. So you weren't, as a child, you can't make decisions for yourself, no matter how independent you may be or how smart you may be.
That's by law.
Yeah, so the people in charge of these programs, their goal was to be able to get to the parents.
Yeah.
So the kids weren't in the cult, the parents were in the cult. And when I heard that on the documentary, I kind of like froze up a little bit because I'm like, damn, that's deep. Like, what do you do when your parent gets into a cult and the purpose of the cult is to correct the child? Like, that's kind of wild.
Red flag, can we?
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of red flags in this one, y'all.
We're just gonna put a giant red flag over this whole
giant
episode,
red flag.
like, cause this one is riddled with red flags. So parents would join these seminars and they would use brainwashing techniques, psychological experiences, and like physiological experiences as well, like standing in circles, doing all type of
like beating something up to get your rage out, screaming.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I call bullshit on all of this. I don't really think any of these seminars were actually backed by intellectual people.
Yeah.
I think people were just creative in ways to like fuck people's minds up and make them dependent on whatever cause that they were trying to put out to people.
And they claimed it was self-help, I guess.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Everybody's always looking for self-help. How can I be? Now we do it with social media. Oh, how can I open up a business? Or how can I...
Wellness influencers.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful with where you put your time and money in, because apparently this was going on way back then. I love how the old school generation loves to clown millennials and stuff.
Oh yeah, like we fall for scams and stuff.
For being so gullible and shit. Like, nah, bro, they was running these same plays back then. They just did it differently. So, so long story short, we're gonna move on. Behavior modification programs was what they were called, and they were sold as tough love.
Red flag.
We're gonna enter another red flag here because I have a problem with this.
Behavior modification programs, or what? What do you have a problem with?
I have a problem with parents paying other people to give their children tough love.
Yeah.
Because I understand everybody's different, but what I see a parent as, a good parent, is an individual who can show tough love to their kid so that the world doesn't have to, or that the world doesn't discipline them, and then when that happens, it ends up being jail. Like, as a child, I was chastised for stuff that I did, and it was because my mother chastised me so that the principal at school didn't have to. So it's kind of like we can't get through our kids, so we're going to pay people to show them tough love because that's what they need. That's what I have a problem with.
I have a problem with behavior modification programs too, because it just reminds me of those conversion camps for gay kids where they think they can beat the gay out of you. And we clearly know that doesn't work, and that's abuse. So yeah, like you said, if you can't take care of your kid at home, I don't think you should send them away to a boarding school.
And you got to be careful when it comes to helping and fixing things, because the guy who started this thought that AA, the Alcohol Anonymous program, was too soft. So
red flag.
red flag.
It's 12 steps in that program, and you gonna say it's too soft.
So he's like, we need to be like more in their face, basically like gang up on them. Like they showed clips of them like just pointing at you like, you alcoholic, you piece of shit. Like, so I'm like, I don't see how this is helpful.
No.
So those members went on to create the programs for troubled teens.
Red flag.
Red flag. And I'm about to another red flag, because the name I'm about to say is always going to make us put a red flag. Nancy Reagan.
Nancy Reagan, definitely a red flag.
Nancy Reagan.
Well, she would be in this documentary.
So she popularized the programs with Just Say No campaign. And this is hilarious to me, because while your husband was out here flooding the streets with cocaine, and that trickled down to the youth, that makes youth end up wanting to do drugs and shit. Your wife is over here with this troubled teen program and back in this.
It's all systematic. It's all...
If this ain't the most like diabolical couple in history, bro, like I don't know who is. Like, so WASP is the acronym of this program, and WASP is the name of the program. The acronym stands for Worldwide Association of Special Programs.
Red flag.
Wow.
Look at my face. I'm just like, that's the best you could come up with?
They came up with that name in 1 minute.
We're going to make the Worldwide Special Program.
What is a special program?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. What were they even doing?
So, nonetheless, it was founded by Robert Litchfield. Remember that name, Robert Litchfield. He is the evil white man that got away with it all.
Yeah.
And has programs all over the world.
The world, y'all. The world. They have programs like this in Czechoslovakia, and they said Costa Rica, Mexico. Yeah, red flag.
Red flag. Because Americans always try to push like, oh, we don't have that brutal child care and educational system here in America. We educate our children and lead our society with care and with love and fair discipline. No.
They got these kids like Guantanamo Bay out here.
Yeah, this shit was intense, and it was hard to watch, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially somebody that has worked with children like in behavioral settings. It's just so unnecessary to see some of the stuff that they was doing to these kids.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you and I went to regular public schools, and they would just put the bad kids in a certain class, or they would put them in. We had modular trailers outside where they had to go. Yeah.
Damn. We ain't had that.
But that wasn't as bad as Academy at Ivy Ridge.
We had like regular classes, which was called CP classes, and then honors classes, which was like for kids that were a little bit more advanced academically, but I don't know if we had a class just for kids.
The bad kids who was in ISS all
you know what
the time.
I mean? Yeah, that's in school suspension, but anybody could go there. If you fuck up, you end up in ISS.
But what about those kids who just always got suspended and all? What did they do?
They ended up in like charter schools or stuff like that, and that's I'm familiar with places like that.
The
you
new
know what
charter
I mean?
schools is
But still, I've never been to a place where the footage I've seen on this documentary is what I've seen happening in front of me.
This was no school.
So Robert Litchfield grew up a dirt poor Mormon.
Red flag. Red flag on the play.
The Mormons gonna come after us after a while.
The Mormons. This is like our third episode about the Mormons. So basically, the Mormons are behind all the corruption in America.
Whenever there are children being abused for financial gain, there's a Mormon somewhere behind it. So he grew up dirt poor in Utah. Funneled in students from psychiatric hospitals called Brightway. I believe
red flag.
He was a security guard there, right?
No, he hired a security guard to be the president of his company.
Oh.
But I'm putting a red flag because you make up a fake school and then you start funneling in students from a psychiatric hospital. They are there for a reason. They don't need a school. They need psychiatric help.
I didn't remember any part of the documentary of them funneling in psychiatrists either. So we're going to get the
Yeah.
kids, and we're not going to get the proper resources we need to staff them or whatever.
Right.
So manipulated parents out of thousands of dollars for their own gain.
Yeah.
So like this, I don't want y'all to think like this is some like, oh, we going to help y'all fix y'all kids just because out the kindness of our heart. No. These parents paid tuition.
Yeah, red flag.
College level tuition.
Because
like,
that's when I realized, like, oh, wait, this is paid. I didn't, like, the whole documentary I was watching, I was like, okay. And I was like, wait, people paid for this?
you paid for your child to go to this program and then end up getting traumatized, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So the program that was highlighted the most during this documentary was called Academy at Ivy Ridge. This is where Catherine went to, and she met all of her friends that you'll see on the documentary if you check it out. And it was the main economy for Ogdensburg, New York. So this is like way upstate New York, like way far away from the big city, far away from a lot of local towns that you may be familiar with. Basically the middle of nowhere.
And I think that's important because they wanted to isolate these kids to an area where nobody would come looking for them. And the town, this school is basically their main economy. So they're going to turn a blind eye. They're not going to say shit.
Like, have y'all ever heard of them prisons that are in the middle of nowhere? So if the prisoner escapes, there's like nothing for them to escape to. This kind of like the similar thing. They say even if the children were able to get away from the, I don't want to call it a school. Facility. If they were able to get away from the facilities, they would be like in forests. I think they were close to the border of Canada, and staff would tell them like, you can't, if you try to swim over there, the current is going to drown you. All type of like bullshit they would tell. I would have tested
them waters.
Shit, I'd have made me a floaty.
I would have rather died out in the forest than tried to be in that facility.
Truthfully, it was that bad. Like, we're not being dramatic.
We'll get into it, y'all.
So the facility is right on the water. Like I said, it's near Canada. And the staff had no qualifications at all. No qualifications. Like Miss Chris D mentioned, the economy of this town was so terrible that they really were hiring anybody off the street. So I think somebody said they were able to speak to an old staff, and like she just got fresh out of college. They were like, well, what was the requirements? There were none.
Yeah.
If you wanted a job in this town, you had one because they needed staff. And
they're not even certified. They're not even certified. If you were trying to be a fake school, you should have at least got fake certified.
But that's another thing about the private sector. Like once you have like a private, and we'll get into all of that, like the way these people are able to like stay out of trouble, legally speaking, because of LLCs or whatever, like it's ridiculous to me. Because like they didn't even hire janitorial staff. And all of this stuff matters because when you have to pay professionals to come in, you don't have enough money left over. So they cut out a lot of the professionals. They didn't have janitorial staff. They made the kids clean the entire facilities.
That's child labor.
They only spent $4 a day on meals for the children.
I spend $12 per meal.
That's like, these are growing children. They need nourishment. $4 a day. One
boy said he had 2 pieces of white bread and a glass of milk.
That's still less than $4 a day. At that time, you could probably get a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread for about $4 or $5.
Yeah, early 2000s.
You know what I mean? So like, they were cutting corners with these kids, and they did their best to keep the truth from coming out. Like I said, they used the LLCs. For those of y'all that don't know, just a quick little wrap up. A LLC is a limited liability company, and what it does, it puts the responsibility of a business on the entity and not the owner of the business. So they were strategic enough in forming these LLCs so that when people would investigate, it would never go back to Robert Litchfield, which was the guy at the top of that scheme. So yeah.
And that's why if they shut them down, they would pop another one back up, and it would just keep going on.
It's a never-ending whirlwind, unfortunately.
So Catherine and her friends, majority of this documentary, they decide to go back to Ivy Ridge. The building is still there if you want to go check it out in Ogdensburg, New York, but I wouldn't advise it.
That shit
it looked disgusting. She said it looked like a crime scene / time capsule. And I'm really surprised that they had the bravery to go back into those hallways where they were abused, because I probably would never want to go back. But the place just looked like a crime scene. It looked like there were files everywhere. They left the uniforms. They left everything. So Catherine and her friends decided to go, and they even went so far as to put the uniforms on. That was a little bit too much for me, but they found all the files in pristine condition of people signing off their name that I restrained so-and-so today. I choked out so-and-so today. I broke so-and-so today. Oh, we'll get into it. Red flag.
Red flag. Yo.
They left all those files there. So if somebody did want to sue them, there's plenty of information to go off of. So let's get into, Catherine and how she got there. She spent 15 months at Ivy Ridge. 15 months for a teenager is like 15 years, okay?
That's like a tenth of your life, goddamn. Like,
and it was a very developmental time. It was 2004. She was a sophomore in high school. And Catherine grew up in a very conservative Christian household. Her mom died when she was only 1 year old from breast cancer. So her dad, it was like the old Cinderella story. Her dad remarried to her stepmother, who was a living nightmare. And it was her stepmother's idea to put Catherine in this facility. Because what?
Red flag. Red flag, bro. Put some pants on. Do not let your wife dictate what you do with your child, man.
Your blood child.
Like, that's your baby girl. You just let the stepmom come in here. Like, man, I felt so sorry for Kathy.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrible.
Because, get this. Catherine, it wasn't like she was 10th grader doing crack cocaine or something. Catherine
she was just outgoing.
Yeah, she was just a very outgoing, regular teenager.
Yeah.
So she drank a little bit and smoked a little bit here and there.
What's crazy though is she said that she was pushed to do that because of how controlling her stepmom was.
Yeah, she said that it wasn't really like she wanted to get into that stuff, but she was getting stressed out by her stepmom. And you never knew your birth mom. She had a stressful life.
Yeah.
So all of that to say, they pulled her from public school and put her into some other boarding school. Catherine broke the rules by drinking a Mike's Hard lemonade. A Mike's Hard. And that's what landed her an academy at Ivy Ridge. Because she had just gone off the deep end. She's so troublesome. We can't do anything with her. You gonna take her from a safe boarding school to this shit? Yeah, I feel so bad for Catherine. And so when Catherine got there, she said, okay, I just got to get my bags out the car. They said, nope. Rule number 1 at Ivy Ridge, students do not leave the facility.
Red flag.
You cannot even go outside. They have pathways that are covered from building to building, so kids can't even get a breath of fresh air.
What the fuck is the point of being in upstate New York with the Adirondack Mountains in the background and you can't even go outside and smell the fresh air?
No, they were stuck in this
That
facility.
should be a part of treatment. You know what I mean? Like,
babe, I think we come to realize there was no treatment at this facility. And that's so sad because basically Catherine's dad thought, okay, I'm going to sign off and let my daughter go to this because it's brainwashed. The parents are brainwashed to think like, oh, this is a nice, safe environment and therapeutic for your child to get better. And he had his new wife and his conservative background telling him that this was the right thing to do.
Look, y'all might not like me for saying this, but I know a P-U-S-S-Y when I see one. And there's a lot of parents on there. I ain't calling nobody out, but I'm saying, man, if this is the route you taking because you can't control your kids.
Yeah. And come to find out, their kids weren't even that bad.
No, they was
literally
regular
none of them were that bad. So yeah, students can't leave. At Ivy Ridge, they have like different levels. Levels 1 through 3, you can't talk, you can't smile, you can't look out the window, you can't. There's a whole long list of rules.
Red flag.
And yeah. Number 1, y'all know I like to talk, so I'm gonna just be out. I can't. And if you did, you got beat or you got deprived of food. Everybody had to sleep on the floor anyway, so there wasn't much they could take away from it. They could take your little mattress off the floor and make you lay on the concrete. So yeah, this place was basically like imprisonment for children.
It was hell.
Yeah, it really was.
Like,
it really was a prison.
Imagine having a desk in front of a window and then getting in trouble for looking out of the window.
Yeah, I couldn't believe she said that. In the documentary, like every window was strategically placed where you would look out the window. You would have to look out the window. So basically, that's the whole point. They made it impossible. Like, oh, if you get to level 6, you can get out of here. But it's impossible to get to level 6 because you're getting docked points every time you talk, every time you can't talk to other people, you can't make friends.
You can't smile at
You can't
people.
smile.
What the fuck?
You can't laugh, you can't do nothing. And then sometimes they would reward you with chocolate 2 days a week, like a fucking animal. Like that's your reward if you're on your best behavior.
You get chocolate twice a week.
You get chocolate twice a week, or you can get a supervised phone call with your parents. So the thing is, if you're going to talk to your parents, if you're going to write home to your parents, you can do all that, but you cannot ask to go home. If you ask to go home, that's minus 50 points. You're back to 0. So it was just all made up arbitrary rules. Like they just made rules for the stupidest thing. And eventually, they even said that all the windows were covered. So if you thought about running away, you can't because there's a metal grate on those windows, like a prison.
Hey, yo.
Yeah.
I would have tested my IQ trying to figure out how to get out that motherfucker. Trust me.
Trust me.
And I'm not saying that they didn't, but like this place, man, like
it was horrible.
Damn,
was so
I would have rather
horrible.
go to jail for real.
Yeah, this would have been strike number 1 for me. Put a red flag for the strip searches.
Oh yeah.
Why are you doing strip searches of children? Why are men doing strip searches of girls? That's the kind of facility they had. They literally, as soon as you come in, Catherine says she dropped her bags, stripped naked, had to cough to make sure you're not hiding any drugs or cell phones up your ass. And they're having adult males do this and watch girls. So it was a lot of corruption and it was a lot of abuse there. And so they even said that they forced haircuts on the kids, like a prison. The kids slept in the hallways, as I said. If you were on suicide watch, you had to sleep with your arms outstretched. So Catherine said that's what she saw first day. Hallway lined with beds, kids stretched out wide. And she said that the whole while you're at Ivy Ridge, they make you feel like you're the bad person. Mm-hmm. They used to make these kids be like, you're playing victim. Stop playing victim. Yeah. And they basically would coerce the kids and say, well, if you would just admit that you're a drug addict, like that attack therapy we talked about before from the 60s. Just admit you're a drug addict and then you could go home. So they just humiliated the kids. They really even, so far as called them units in email. So they weren't even kids to them. They were just units. They were just $1. They were just a coin. So yeah, getting back to Catherine, she said that she didn't get to see her family until 6 months into the program. You're a teenager away from your pets, your dad, your 2 sisters. Catherine had 2 sisters, 2 older sisters who were off living their life in college, so they kind of forgot about her low-key.
This is a sentence, like.
Yeah, it really is. So 6 months in, okay, your family finally comes because you have to do a seminar together. It was all about these fake seminars where you have to yell like, I hate you, Mom, and like just crazy stuff. Her dad comes and her sister comes and her sister says, that's when I realized how bad it was when I got to visit and I couldn't touch you. Like now I realize, oh, you're not out of school. And I need to help you get out of here. So yeah, Catherine, the whole time, she said that she really did not follow the rules. She honestly is the only one out of the whole group who didn't graduate from the program. So let me just run through the rest of these folks real quick. There was a whole bunch of survivors. I'm not going to go into all the details. It's a lot. Make sure you guys check it out. But there's a woman named Katie who went to Ivy Ridge at age 13. She was the youngest that we heard of. Yeah. 13, y'all. Going through all this. Strip searches.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag. Going to a program like that at 13?
At 13 years old.
Not that 15 or 16 is any better, but damn, son.
And her mom was in the documentary, of course, like, well, if I just wish I could take it back. Like,
man, fuck you.
Yeah, Brother Ash is on the F those parents wave.
For real.
I'm on the wave where I'm like, I almost feel bad for them because they were also brainwashed.
I feel you, but like, at what point does your parental instinct kick in? Like,
yeah, that part.
You know what I mean? Because I would just hope, not even just hope, like I would just know as a parent, like, if I was in a situation to where my child had to be in a program to help with their behavior and help with their development,